Call the Monday, May 12, 2014 regular board meeting to order. And the first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda, but before that I would like to swear in our newest board member. And so if she could please meet me at the front of the table here. Raise your right hand. I, Sarah Rankin,
I, Sarah Rankin,
do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties of USD 489 Board of Education member
and faithfully discharge the duties of the USD 489 Board of Education member.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. And for example, as much time as you can.
That's for your husband. Let's hear it. We can move the mic up.
They don't want me in the picture. Okay, now we'll move on to approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved by Board Patterson, seconded by Board Member Bickle to approve the agenda as submitted. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 7-0. Next item is audience participation. If any members of the audience, anybody wish to address the board, come forward, please. If you announce your friend.
Okay. I'm Kathy Romey with the Kansas NEA. You as board members are here tonight facing some critical decisions once again. I think we need to remember that we're partially in this situation due to what's happened or has not happened at the state level in regards to school funding. We need to continue to hold our governor and our legislature accountable for the cuts that we're looking at here in USD 489. This week we celebrate the 60th anniversary of a historic decision, U.S. Supreme Court decision, the Brown versus Board of Education. And we have, all of us have an opportunity to go to Topeka this Saturday to celebrate that decision and that anniversary, as well as attend a march and a rally in support of public education. So I'm here tonight to invite school board members, administrators, teachers, patrons of the district to go with us. We have a free chartered bus leaving at 7 o'clock Saturday morning from the parking lot of the KNEA office out by the bingo house at 1202 Canterbury. And again, we would just like to invite all of you. I've got a flyer here that's got the website where you can sign up for the bus. And we would like all of you to join us in standing up for public education. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Mark Quigley. I work in the transportation department. I'm a school bus driver and also the mileage auditor in Russ's office. I think one of the things that goes through my mind on this as far as transportation and busing, a lot of the things that we do for the kids here in Hayes we're able to do that because of Fort Hayes and the number of kids that we take there. They couldn't participate in that if we didn't have the buses. There's hundreds of them. I don't have a lot more to say, except when you see a school bus sitting someplace, you got to remember there's a trained individual that knows first aid, an extra set of eyes, and will assist the teacher with those kids when they are there. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Hi, I'm Paul Faber. I'm the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences at Fort Hays. President Hammond would have liked to have been here tonight, but he had a conflict, and so I am here in his place. I have 2 points to make, 2 points I would ask you to consider as you make these difficult budget decisions that you have to make. I'm here really to support your continued funding of the arts in general and music in particular. We've seen more and more evidence in recent years of the importance that music and art have for the cognitive development of students. Whether people go into art and music, whether they're majors at the college level or not, is not really so relevant. There really is a lot of evidence that people who have extensive art and music education earlier on do very well in verbal areas and in spatial and numerical areas. And of course, that's a lot of education. So it's a very valuable part of the curriculum. The second point that I would ask you to consider is really a little bit more selfish from our point of view. In the College of Arts and Sciences, we have about 15 new faculty members a year. We're about half of the academic side of the university. So probably for the university as a whole, those numbers are double. For each each person each position we want to fill, we will bring in 2 to 3 finalists for the position. So in an average year, I would interview 30 to 45 potential new faculty members, and for the university as a whole, it's probably about double that. Not all of them have children, of course, but at least half do. One of the biggest considerations is the quality of education in the schools in Hays. We cannot compete with many universities in just the straight salaries we pay. We compete with other universities on the quality of life in Hays. The arts and music are tremendously important for when I am talking with prospective faculty members. It makes a tremendous difference to us. I guess the very last thing I would say is that I'm really here also as a parent. I've had 3 kids go through O'Laughlin, Kennedy, and Hays High. All were musicians of one sort or another. One was a vocalist, one a French horn player, one a bassoonist. Of course, there's no way of really doing some study and telling what contributed to their success and what didn't, but I know that the time, the effort, the opportunities that they had because of music have all contributed to their academic success, and they've all been reasonably academically successful. So thank you for hearing me out, and I wish you all the best in making these difficult decisions.
Thank you.
My name is Dan Leese. I'm a bus driver. I've been doing it, this is my 2nd school year. A month ago, I sent you all an email after you received the first list of options that were available. I think at the time there were only 6, and now we have 8. I do believe that our option 8 is going to be the best for the district in the respect that we do have some children that do have a legitimate need for transportation. Like it or not, it's good or not, it's not good. We have children who don't have parents there in the morning, don't have parents when they get home, so we are their source. And we do many other things. Our department does a lot of things. We do Head Start, special ed, work studies. We haul math students, Spark students, peer tutors, school-to-school transfers all day long. We've got music programs that we have to go practice for. We have all kinds of things during the week, as well as athletic events and a lot of things in district as well as out of district competitions for athletics and academics, music, you name it. So I think regardless of which option you choose, you're going to need a pool of drivers. And since we do have these kids who do have this need, I'm just encouraging you, please, to consider strongly the option of busing the children. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Jordan, and I'm an associate professor of music at Fort Hays State University. In recent weeks, of course, we've heard a great deal of discussion regarding these cuts in education. And in the course of these discussions, I have listened to terms and classifications used which, though often done so with the best of intentions, may be somewhat inaccurate and potentially misleading as our community and you wrestle with some tough choices. And in particular, these terms, when applied to music and the arts, may paint something of a confusing picture, and I hope that by speaking I can clarify just a little bit of that this evening, particularly as regards music. I've often heard music referred to in meetings as an extracurricular activity. It is neither. It is neither an activity, nor is it extracurricular. If it were, then Harvard, Yale, Florida State, Miami, LSU, the University of Texas, and many others have entire schools that are devoted to producing graduates with degrees in an extracurricular activity. What is music? It's a credit-carrying academic course. It fulfills a graduation unit that is mandated by the Kansas Board of Regents as well as one of 6 required elective credits. But music is more than that, and I would ask that you possibly consider the following examples as you look at the impact of the decisions you make on our community. In the local sense, I'd like to mention that this past weekend, the Hays High Chamber Singers did their annual dinner show, and Superintendent Catt was there, and we certainly appreciate his presence and his support. 900 people attended this dinner show over 3 nights. That's 4% of the Hays population paying to see a performance by 28 students. 28 students attracting 900 people. But more importantly, what did they learn from this? The students, in addition to all the responsibilities of being a group member musically and visually and all that entails, 21 of these students sang solos. Now that meant that they had to select appropriate music, find it in the right key for their voice range, learn that music, memorize that music, rehearse it with a professional level rhythm section, and then perform it alone in front of 300 people. Now that experience, imagine doing that as a sophomore in high school. That's not an activity, ladies and gentlemen, that's a life skill they're learning. Further example that I'd like to mention, the rhythm section that I spoke of just a moment ago. The drummer for that rhythm section is Dr. Kevin Davidson Chiropractic. His son also sang a solo that evening and was a member of the All-State Choir. I think we have to ask ourselves, how willing would people like Dr. Davidson be to relocate to Hays if there were no music programs, or if they were of poor quality because of the teachers being stretched so thin? Just an aside about how this is also benefiting our community economically. If any of you went to this, you saw that the stage and the sound and the lighting for the dinner show, which is something akin to a Van Halen concert, was provided by Jeremy Wan and Sure Sound Lighting. Jeremy is a 2001 Hays High graduate, and he provided this service, which normally cost about $25,000, for $3,000. This is the kind of music, this is the kind of impact that music is having at the local level. At the state level, Hays High School alone placed 18 students in the All-State Band, Choir, and Orchestra. They were in direct competition, not with students from Hoxie and Colby and Western Kansas, but from those in the Blue Valley, the Shawnee Mission, and the Lawrence school districts, as well as those from Topeka, Wichita, and other areas of Kansas City. In other words, our programs here in Hays are on a competitive level with those of districts in eastern Kansas with much more in the way of student populations, much larger student populations, much greater resources, and certainly access to much greater financial resources. Iselin Walters, who's a student at Hays High, was the first chair alto sax for two years running in the All-State Band. Tristan Callis, also another student from Hayes High, was the third chair violist out of 26 violists in the All-State Orchestra. The Kansas Music Educators Association each year awards 3 scholarships to students who are members of the All-State Band, the All-State Choir, and Orchestra. This year, 2 of those 3 winners were from Hayes. At the national level, Iceland Walters again was selected as a member of the 2014 U.S. Army All-American Marching Band. That's a nationwide ensemble. From the entire country, they choose 4 alto saxophonists, and she was one of them. Iceland, by just coincidentally, is also taking honors classes. She's on the high school leadership team and co-editor of the newspaper. And I'd like to mention one more thing. The Hayes High Chamber Singers, who finished their dinner show, are now at work readying a performance in Carnegie Hall this year. They'll be part of a year-long premiere of a new work called Requiem for the Living by composer Dan Forrest. So in summation, this means that people throughout western Kansas know about USD 489 because of our music students. It means that people throughout the state know about USD 489 because of our music students. And people throughout the nation, people in Colorado, Texas, and yes, New York City, are aware of what we have going on here in USD 489 because of our music students. Now, this doesn't just happen. We make it look easy because that's our job, is to make it look easy, to make it look professional. But it takes years of consistently excellent teaching, as well as a culture and a community that supports the arts and understands them as something much more than an extracurricular activity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Terry Blyde. I'm with the Transportation Department. First of all, I'd like to take a minute to say thank you, Mr. Schwartz and the Board of Education, for last Monday. I know during the work session, you're not supposed to have people, talk to you or anything like that, but you gave me the opportunity to say something. I appreciate that. That meant a lot to me about the Transportation Department and stuff like that, but I wanted to say thank you at first. The options that you have that you're going to be voting on is option 5 and option 8. Option 5 is no busing at all. I'd hate to see that happen to USD 489 because we have a lot of kids that we transport and they need our help getting to school. Option 8 is a great idea. Still gives us a chance to get the kids to school that their parents can't get to school. Also, if you go with option 5, you're going to be eliminating some jobs, eliminating some drivers. It took a long time to get the drivers that we have right now. Like I said in my letter that I sent to you guys, I've been here for 2 years. We've had that banner up for a year and a half. We've had 2 people apply. Well, I'd hate to see us lose the drivers that we have right now if you go with no busing and then see a month down the road, I guess this is not working out. We might need some drivers. It might be kind of hard to get them back. I talked to some drivers, I might be in the same situation. I might have to go out and get another job. Like the other guys, they might have to go out and get another job too. Then you call us back, would you want to come back? Well, I can't. You might not get those drivers back that we have right now. We have a bunch of great drivers down here. We'll do everything that you ask us to do. If we go with option 8, we can handle everything that we're doing right now. Because like tomorrow, we have 5 buses leaving town. That's like if we do option 5, you might only have a handful of people being able to drive a school bus. We have 5 bus routes leaving tomorrow for athletic routes or field trips. And plus you have your in-town routes also that you have to cover. I just strongly urge you to vote yes on option 8. And please, let's keep busing on USD 489. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Lee, and I go to Hayes Middle School. What I wanted to talk about was a lot about the Hayes music programs that go along, because I know that the board doesn't always get to hear a lot from students and how they care to really know about how, I guess, we feel about them. I always really enjoyed going and being a part of music programs. Even though at times I didn't really know I wanted to be a musician when I grew up, it was nice because even though when I go to things like maybe a class or some other group that might be outside school or something like that, it's nice because I feel so safe in things like my choir and my orchestra. I not only have my friends here, but even people I've never even met who can be my friends and I can share with. And we all bond over that. I don't feel, judged or hated or put down at all because we're all on the same level. We're all singing and just playing music. And I want to consider that we can maybe do something else besides eliminating all of the music programs that we have. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is communication from other organizations.
What you have attached are is the monthly director's report from the Connections program and also the minutes from the Policy Council. And that is all we have for communications.
Any questions regarding communications? Next item on the agenda is report of superintendent.
I have several things I want to recognize here. First one is our electric car results. Chris Dinkle is the teacher that's in charge of that program. They had a very successful year, and I just want to report here on the state championships. In a written report, Hayes High received first place, and that was Cord Albers, Brett Hurdle, Ben Prendle, Caden Beelman, Lucas Dickinson, Caleb Hecker, and Justin Hurdle. And then they also received on the solar car, they were the number one car, number 320, and the drivers were Cord Albers and Brett Hurdle. The runner-up in the standard class then was Hayes High as well, and that was car number 20. The driver was Lucas Dickinson. But they had a very successful year and wanted to share that with you. And you heard a little bit earlier about the dinner show, and it was absolutely awesome event, and wanted to share a little bit more just on Jeremy Wan and how much they do. I mean, we just heard about the dollar amount they donate, but the time and effort that those folks put in is absolutely phenomenal. And the light and sound engineers that donated their time were Jeff Biddekoffer, I'm sorry, and Ryan States, Grant Stramel, Jeremy Wan was also obviously there, Brandon Weigel, and Luke LeCount. But those guys did a wonderful job along with all the parents and everyone else that does that. But what they do is truly amazing for the school and to put on that production. It was something like I'd never seen before. I want to talk a little bit about graduation. Sunday is the Hayes High graduation at Gross Memorial. That's on the 18th. Mr. Straub is asking if we get there about 45 minutes early, and I believe we meet in the northeast corner of the Coliseum in Tiger Lounge before, and then I believe we all walk out together there. Does that make sense? It's my first one, so you're going to have to help me. But I think it's the northeast corners where the Tiger Lounge is. And has everyone RSVP'd? Does Marty Straub know who's going to be there, who isn't for seating? And
What time did you say, Dean? We need to be there?
Graduation is at 3 o'clock, so we need to try to...
2:15.
Yeah, somewhere in there. I mean, 45 minutes, I'm sure is plenty of time, but parking and those things may take a little bit of time. And then the next graduation is here in the auditorium, and that is Monday, May 19th at 6. And that is the Learning Center graduation. If you can attend, or some of you can attend that, that would be wonderful. I will be there, and then run to the middle school promotion or graduation, I guess you call it, and awards or recognition program, and that is at Hayes High School Gym A, and that starts at 7 p.m. So if you can attend that, you might let Craig or myself know so they can set up their stage as well. State journalism honors, we had 4 students placed in 5 different events in the 5A, 6A division. The Guidon was named All Kansas, which is the top honor you can get in Class 5A for the paper. The members that received honors were seniors Rachel Moravik, Nicole Fireherm, and the other senior was Island Walters, and sophomore Brianna Mathias were all received honors there. Back to a few honors, and they had mentioned this at one of the previous board meetings, or maybe it was at the work session, but the Gesture Awards, I did receive the list of honors there, and we did have one. Nick Overby was awarded a $2,000 scholarship, summer theater scholarship for Wichita, which is a big deal. They do one male, one female across the state, and he did receive that. The musical received the overall production award, direction of show, Brenda Mader, leading actor, Nick Overby, who was also awarded the scholarship, supporting actress, Shelby Matlock, supporting actor, Max Beffert, supporting actor, Conrad Hoffman, received an honor for, or award for assembly, or ensemble and chorus, production number, and then orchestra, Johnny Matlock and Lexi Robinson, musical direction, Johnny Matlock, and choreography and staging, Tonita, I'm sorry, Augustine, and then lobby display, Stacy Behrens, Melody Davidson, Penny McGinnis, and Teresa McPherson. So again, more awards here at the end of the year. The last thing that I attended was the Hayes NEA banquet for retirees and master teacher honors, and board members Bickle and Swartz also attended that. It was a nice event. It's the first one I attended, obviously, but had a good time. And the honorees that, or the teachers that were retiring that were honored at that banquet were Dave and Jill Pollock, Barbara Roberts, and Nancy Stramel. And our master teachers that were honored from the high school was Dave Pollock, from middle school Ted Foster, Washington Laura Gahn, from Lincoln Barb Roberts, O'Laughlin Gina Johnson, Roosevelt Gay Flax, Kathleen Valling from the Rec Center, and Teresa Gross was the master teacher for USD 489, and she's in the audience, so congratulations, Teresa, for that. So, and that is my report.
Any questions? Next item on the agenda is the financial report.
What will be pulled up here in a minute, this is the budget increase, and Tracy, I'll let you explain a little bit here the differences, if you want to talk about health insurance a little bit, and then as we go through it, I'll help you.
Sure. We did receive notification that the employer-paid portion of our health insurance will go down 2% starting in July. So we had anticipated potentially a 10% increase. So that dramatically changed our numbers. There is still the possibility of the employee side going up in January, and the district does pay a portion of that. So I've allotted $45,000 potential increase would just be for half the year from January through June. And then in the reduction side, instead of going from a positive, 236,000, we're actually going down. Our premiums will decrease by 3,100 from this year. So those are the updated numbers on that.
Under the budget reductions then, there's 3 items that are in red that have pending staff reorganization of ELL. That is one that's going to take, we'll work on that as we go, but also through the summer, looking at paraprofessionals and how that program is going to look. That is in the works. Increase in workbook and material fees, we'll talk about that in just a little bit. And then also the transportation, this has the fee. What we need to do is come up with one item or a combination of items that will equal what we have on this sheet, the $1.4 million. And we'll talk about all the options that we have coming up here. This is the recommended list from administration that we've been working on. This gives us right now, and these are all estimates, would be 109,000 in the positive, which isn't much when you look at next year and the budget, but it does get us where we need to be right now, and there's other things that I feel will happen that'll help that number, but the increase that we will receive from base state aid, the increase in that is the $22,000. The increase and actually decrease for us in the local option budget when they take out virtual waiting and a couple of the other things that the legislators did, we will actually lose $7,000 there. And then the loss of new facilities waiting with the new language there, will lose $120,000 roughly. So the new financial picture that the governor just approved, in reality for USD 489 means that we'll lose a little over $100,000. So that's where we are with that piece of it. And looking at the bottom dollar here, the 109,000, if we come up with a combination of things to get us there, we will have the local option budget election coming up in late June, and see how that comes up. But I think we'll still find savings in some other areas as we go through this. Questions, comments, anything on the budget worksheet?
And did you talk to anybody at the state, and the new facility waiting, that's a done deal?
That's a done deal.
Not going to happen?
Yeah. We lost it, so.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else?
Any further questions? Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which consists of the board meeting minutes of the April 21, 2014 meeting, the work session minutes from the May 5, 2014 meeting, the financial reports, which includes the clerk's report, expenditure summary report, petty cash report, building-based budget reports, authorization of Clayton Holdings to make payment to Paul Wurtenberger in the amount of $77,535, personnel transactions, and approval of bills in the amount of $2,578,815.52. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Board Member Riker, seconded by Board Member Lang. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 7-0. Next item on the agenda is new business, and the first item under new business is the Hayes High School yearbook bid.
Historically, the district has used a 3-year bid for the yearbook because it allows the course to have more structure with the formatting and things like that, so they're not changed every year. We can remain more consistent in that. So we are recommending the low bid from Jostens in the amount of $61,539 for 3 years.
Do we have a motion to accept the yearbook bid?
I make a motion to accept the high school yearbook bid.
Second? Second. Been moved by Board Member Bickle, second by Board Member Liker to accept the Hayes High School yearbook bid. Do we have any discussion?
And that is, I think if I remember right, Tracy, you had said last time that's pretty well funded then, basically, by,
Right, it is self-funded through
Okay.
the cost of the yearbooks,
Okay.
yes.
Any further discussion? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries 7-0. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the organizational chart.
This is what we've been working on for numerous months. The only change as of recent is we did move the payroll department directly under my position so that it would be included more as a true HR function, but everything else has remained the same that we've discussed the last few months.
I make a motion to approve the organizational chart.
Second.
It's been moved by Board Member Patterson, seconded by Board Member Rankin to approve the organizational chart. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 7-0. Next item on the agenda is the policy revision to Section DK, which is the Student Activity Fund Management.
This is a policy that when we had our audit, they suggested we do on student activity funds. Bill has reviewed this, and it's up for your approval at this time.
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to accept or go with the policy revision on DK.
Second.
It's been moved by Board Member Patterson, second by Board Member Bickle to accept the policy revisions to Student Activity Fund Management, DK. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 7-0. Next item on the agenda is the District Safety Committee.
This is our start of getting the safety committee put together. It would be changing the board policy, saying that there will be a written safety policy and that the board will support an employee safety committee that is appointed by the superintendent. And then we also have a policy that will go into the handbooks, stating what the employee's responsibilities are, what the safety committee will be responsible for, and if you approve this, then you can go ahead and get started on forming that committee.
Do we have a motion to approve the District Safety Committee?
I make a motion to approve the safety committee and the policy language.
Second.
It's been moved by Board Member Bickle, second by Board Member Lang to approve the District Safety Committee and the policy language as presented. Is there any discussion?
Tracy, is it fair to say then that number one, that should be in the policy manuals for the upcoming school year then, the next school year, and then and you said we'd be starting on the safety committee right away then?
Right, we will have that in place by next year, yes.
And we'll also be getting that into the, like the director's handbooks and the various other handbooks.
Right, administrative also.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 7-0. Next item on the agenda is the 33rd Street property, and that'll be presented by Superintendent Catt and Bill Jeter.
Well, this is the property, we had talked about this a little bit earlier in the year, and what we need to decide if that is going to be something that we want to try to sell. I know several years ago that it was put up on a sealed bid process, and if we want to do that, that would be my recommendation, and Bill, you can talk a little bit more about what had previously has been done, and then just see if that's something the board is interested in doing. We had a couple of inquiries about it, it's why the issues come back up, and just get your thoughts.
for those that on the board who don't know, the Board of Education has the right to dispose of any property owned by the school district if it's no longer going to be used by the school district in whatever fashion the board deems in the best interest of the school district. What we did with Shively Field is we solicited bids, reserved the right to reject any and all bids, and we ended up accepting the highest bid and selling that property. If you're interested in soliciting bids for the West 33rd Street property, I would suggest we do the same thing, keeping in mind that if you decide that the highest bid is not enough, or you decide at that point you don't want to sell it, then you just reject all bids. And if you don't have any interest in selling it at this time, then we don't need to do anything.
Do we have a motion on this item?
I would make a motion that we go ahead and do the sealed bids and see what it's worth, and then discuss it further from there.
I'd second that.
It's been moved by Board Member Patterson, seconded by Board Member Liker. Is there any discussion?
I had one question. On this field right now, we don't use the property at all, but are we paying for maintenance for other people to use the property? Does anybody know?
James, I couldn't tell you. I'm not aware that we are, but I hate to say.
I think we pay for fertilizer, weed killer, and I'm not sure if we mow it or not. But we pay for most of the upkeep on it.
And
So-
just to confirm, this property is not large enough to put another school on. The Facilities Needs Committee did consider it, is that correct?
I think
Well,
from what
or
I've...
at least,
It depends how you look at it, and if you don't mind, Mr. President, it depends how you look at it. I hate to say it's not large enough to put a school on, because I don't know that for sure. I know that's been some of the talk, but I hate to present that as something that is a definite that a school wouldn't fit on there, because I think there's some things you could do where a school would, but whether that's the location or not, I don't know. And,
Well,
go ahead.
I think the lot size is identical or very close in size to all of our other elementary schools. Roosevelt obviously has got a bigger lot, but if you look at that row of cedar trees, I think they are there, that would generally be the same size. And Wilson has kind of that pie-shaped area that makes it larger, but the general facility would be the same. The Facility Needs Committee, to my knowledge, didn't really look at the idea of building new buildings. They only looked at taking care of the ones we have, fixing those, and so I think they knew and were aware of that property, but it was never part of any substantial discussion.
and the proceeds of the sale would go to capital outlay? Couldn't be used for general fund, correct?
No, it would be in capital outlay.
Okay.
So Bill, we basically have nothing to lose then by putting this out there. We don't have to accept
No,
anything.
you have the right to reject any and all bids.
Can I clarify, do we need to have that in the motion? With the right to reject all bids?
I would maybe suggest you do, yeah.
And I don't know if that's the motion you made, Marty, or not.
It'll be in the bid, but I think it might.
If it's in the bid, I guess it'll be there, but I can go ahead and amend my motion and add that in there, that we have the right to reject all bids.
Do we have a second to that amendment?
I would second the amendment.
Okay, and actually, we'll take up the amendment first. Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote on, I'm sorry.
Looking at the anticipated enrollment increases and the declining space, I definitely think it's a piece of property that, while I have no problem seeing what the estimated local worth would be, it's definitely something that we need to consider moving forward in lieu of a bond or anything else. That could be a very, very valuable property, way beyond what the asking price could end up being on the sealed bid. So I'm very cautious in what we should do with that moving forward. And I don't think we could buy something like that probably very, very reasonably, so. Continue on.
The only thing we're voting on now is just the amendment to add the right to refuse all bids, just so everybody's clear, and then we'll go back to discussion on the overall. So, any further discussion on the amendment? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 7-0. So now we're back to discussion on the original motion with the amendment. Is there any further discussion on that? Sorry.
No, my bad.
I agree with you, Josh. I think the question is does it fit into a long-term master plan, or does any area within close proximity to that fit into a long-term master plan for another school there? Because if it does, you won't buy a piece of property for what we'll sell that for, either in or out of town in that area, so.
Could we get that information from HDK? Because I remember there was a ratio they used per 100 students in an elementary school building, how many acres you do need. And I believe it was large enough for maybe 300 or 400, but I think beyond that, it actually didn't. I don't think they're laws, but I think they're guidelines for it.
Right. Yeah, we can find out.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 7-0. Next item on the agenda is consideration of fees. And Dean, was it your intention that we would take these all as one, or break them off individually?
I think the conversation needs to include all of them. I mean, I had alluded to a little bit earlier about a combination of things, or doing something to come up with our dollar figure. I mean, I think on transportation and fees, it's about $100,000, $114,000, or no, $103,000 roughly, when we had put this together on either this was transportation fees or savings there within. Increase in workbook material fees at $30 was $53,000. So I would like to discuss them all and get your input on each and every one of them. And then kindergarten fees are also on this list that aren't on the list that's being projected there now. But
Well, then, just to facilitate getting this out there, I will make a motion to implement additional workbook / enrollment fee, a kindergarten fee, a pay to participate fee, as well as to modify our transportation options. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 7-0. I guess I'd open it up for discussion at this point.
Okay, Dean.
okay, first of all, can we talk about the kindergarten fee and see if that is something that the board is interested in? My thought is that's the one that we need to stay away from, is if at all possible. I think the discussions we've had in the past, that if we do implement that fee, all of the other families and students that got to attend all-day kindergarten in past were able to benefit from it, then this class comes in and they don't. If we do, I mean, and then we had talked about trying to be a fee-free district when I first started. I mean, we're a long ways from that now, unfortunately, with the budget issues we have. But I would rather see an across-the-board fee of some kind rather than just charge one group to do that. I think everything that we can do to help early childhood, kindergarten, those things to prepare our kids, we need to be doing. Shannon, I don't know if you have anything to add with that, but I think that's just a priority, that we don't discourage families from enrolling their kids in all-day kindergarten. And it would be an option if we charged a fee, obviously.
I agree with that.
So
Do
do
you think
I.
it would be that discouraging?
Yeah.
I mean, looking at the cost of daycare, preschool, everything else, you know, when you're looking at $400 to potentially $500 a month for preschool, even daycare. You think it would be that discouraging?
Yes, I think we would have quite a few that would go to a different district for kindergarten that doesn't charge fees.
Well, and I want to add to that, too. I don't think you made mention of it when you were talking, but if we do half-day and charge for the other half, if we give the option of, one or, I don't know, was that even in?
Well,
It's either all or none, right?
It could be. You could do either, but I think what we had talked about was just.
But I mean, more and more research points towards, getting them in the classroom at a very early age. And the way I look at it, and I know there was some talk at the state level of eventually funding kindergarten all day. So you look at a group and you might have that fee for 2 or 3 years, and then all of a sudden, that fee disappears. I don't see how that's really fair to everybody to stick somebody with $400 one year.
Just from our curriculum and instruction point, I agree, and I've talked of all the fees this concerns, because even if it's a handful, Josh, that maybe stay at home, their mother stay home, or father stay home, this could be doing some further behind. You can already townhouse, students who come in kindergarten who didn't have a preschool, or a year coming in, the social skills, the academic, they're ready to learn, and for us to have them where they need to be, we need them in school already to learn. And the state, before they fell into their, budget situation, they were going to phase in the other half of the funding. So I hope that they know the research, they know it's the right thing to do, and hopefully when they find the funds, we'll see that down the road as well, because it's that important.
I have no doubt on the importance of all-day kindergarten situation. It's just, I'm just talking out loud here. I'm not saying I'm 100% sold either way, but we seem to be comfortable then, I would presume, with the increasing the workbook, textbook, district-wide. So we're raising that, Phil, which is every year for every family that has a child in the district, whereas and I'm not saying this is everybody, but a very common theme is, I cannot wait for my child to go to kindergarten because I've eliminated my daycare / preschool cost, which they are already paying. So I guess it's just kind of hard for me to see that making everybody pay additional money every year per student is less discouraging than paying a one-time fee for your kindergartner once. That may not even be there in the future. So, I definitely don't want to lose children from our district. I don't want to drive people away, which, we've done enough damage here in general between we're going to have to raise some fees, we're going to have to make some changes, I understand that. If you guys are 100% confident that this is the best route to take and this is the least discouraging, then that goes a long way with trying to make this decision. To me, it actually seems the opposite, which, again, just speaking out loud here.
It seems the district has made a commitment to full-day kindergarten for years. And by imposing a fee this year, we somehow devalue that second half of the day. It seems almost like it's a step backwards from what we deem critical. And I think with some of the other items we've talked about, we can find cost savings elsewhere. I think this has too many negatives.
I think we talked a little bit, and it was my view of how I think we should look at the budget, and at least it's how I'm looking at it, of basically 3 classifications of budget items. Those items that are so important that we'll fund them irregardless of the cost because they're that fundamentally important. That item, those items that are important but maybe the district can't afford, and so fees and costs will have to be assessed, and then those that are maybe wanted, but we can't afford them, and so that if we're going to have them, they'll have to be paid for 100% by the parents. And I just think the kindergarten falls in that first category. It's, I agree with you, Josh, that, it is that, you've got that transition, but my concern is if we were going to do this, I would only want to look at it if we said, we're taking this and we're going to implement that fee, and it'll be that fee forever until it's paid 100% by the state. Because I think the problem you run into is, if I'm fortunate enough this year that my kid's in kindergarten right now and going to first grade, I've just dodged the bullet on all those fees. but everybody that comes afterward has to pay for what I got for free, and I don't know if that's the right way to look at it. I'm sure there's some flaws in that theory, but it's, I just look at it, instead of saddling that group of parents only, they weren't the ones that caused the budget shortfall, and they shouldn't be the ones to have to dig us out of it only. I mean, I think, that's why I think if you look at the workbook or enrollment fee, I was happy to hear Marty bring that up the other day, because when we talked about this about 2 or 3 years ago, that was what we settled on. We ended up raising the workbook fee across the board from, I think, like $15 or something up to $100, or maybe it was $25, I don't remember what it was at that time, but it went to that in lieu of charging a kindergarten fee, and I don't know if that's the best or right way, but that's what we did at that point.
Dean, am I looking at it correctly, then basically then, as an example, if you were to do the workbook fee of, say, $30, that's going to basically get us about the same savings as the $400 additional for kindergarten, is that correct?
That's correct.
Right close.
Yeah, yeah, that's close. And, you know, then back to the workbook enrollment fees, the dollar amounts generated by workbook, textbook fees, those things, needs to go into our textbook fund. That is something that money hasn't gone into, and that's one reason that we've done the no-fund warrants for curriculum things, textbooks. But that is one thing the state told us we need to start. If we charge that fee, it needs to go into the the workbook and consumables and those things, and then that's what you pay for those things out of as well. So if we did implement the $30 fee, it would roughly raise the same amount of revenue as what a $400 all-day kindergarten fee would be. I had looked at what it would cost to have, to pay for the other half of I mean, if we, I'm not, this will get misconstrued here, but if we had half-day kindergarten, theoretically, you could reduce half the number of kindergarten teachers. I mean, does that make sense? I'm not saying we're going to do that. But if you did that and wanted to make up that other amount, you'd have to charge about $1,287 for 9 months to pay for that dollar amount. $143 a month, $643 a semester.
Is that for everybody?
Workbook fee, go ahead.
Was that for everybody? Is that across the board, or is that?
That was kindergarten,
excluded?
if that was kindergarten parents, based on the numbers that we used, 230 are the numbers that we had used.
Okay, but that includes everybody, free and reduced, and?
No, I think we took out the number, and I don't, do you have that, Tracy, on?
That would actually include everybody. The full 230 would include all of them.
Okay, that, we didn't take out free lunch, so it would be more than that.
Okay.
And the increase, the workbook material fee, that's $100 per each student?
I'm sorry, be how much?
Every student?
Every student.
From first grade or kindergarten?
Kindergarten, whoever pays the current enrollment or workbook enrollment fee, yes, that would be for every student.
Is there a reduction for families with 3 or 4 kids in the district, or is it 130 for each kid?
I don't believe that we have anything in place now, Marty, that I'm aware of.
Is there a way we can put on there for parents that can't afford to pay more on that workbook and enrollment fee to pay more? Have we ever had that sign up saying if you care to pay more, that you can? And I know it may not go very far, but I'm sure there's a lot of parents who can. I've had a lot of them come up and ask me how they can help. And this would be one area they could help. If they could put in more than the 130, if that's what we go to, or more than the 125, if they would do so, it would go towards a good cause.
I mean, we can ask or try to come up with something like that, but I think it would be a good thing for the foundation, and they do a lot of scholarships and those types of things for families that can't afford things. But that might be a good thing, rather than just pay more and not have any accountability for it, that if that would go in the foundation and then it could be used for scholarships or something. I mean, that's one idea.
Well, I'd certainly like to try it, just if it even raised an extra $100, it'd be worth having out there during enrollment time. Especially if it went towards our textbooks and our workbooks.
But those are two options then. I mean, kindergarten fees, workbook, textbook fees, a combination, both, whatever we choose there. And the next one then is the pay to participate fee we had talked about. And Tracy, you might explain a little bit what you have there, and then we'll get into the activity fee. I talked about that at the retreat, or not retreat, at the work session the other evening a little bit, but.
The students at Hayes Middle School are currently paying a $12 activity ID fee, which allows them to get into any sporting event, activities, things like that, and also their student ID. And then at Hayes High, it's a $16 fee. And all the students, regardless of income level, do pay those activity fees. So I think in Dean's example here, if we raised it $25 per student, it'd generate about $33,500.
And then obviously there's the more traditional pay to participate, where you would decide whether you're going to charge for all activities, athletics, or what you wanted to pay for, and then price of what that would be. And I think Tracy has done some of that here. You might explain that a little bit.
Okay, I compared what we receive in donations for athletics, band, orchestra, and vocal at both the high school and middle school, how many student participants we have in those, and so then the average raised per student, approximately the average there, $289 at the high school, average per student, and $125 on average at the middle school. If we started charging a fee of $25 or $50, the $25 fee based on those numbers of students would generate $32,100, and if there was a $50 fee, it would generate $64,200. And if we would like to look into other, DECA or journalism or any other true activity, we could sure look at numbers like that, but we have not researched that at this point, unless you guys would like us to do that.
I assume that's charging everyone, no reduction for free and reduce.
Correct.
And if we make a motion and decide to increase these fees tonight, and our financial picture looks better come July, could we undo it before enrollment? I don't know if that'll happen, but.
Sure, you could go back and change any of those.
Or even next year, We say we're doing this fee this year because we need to balance our budget.
Yeah, you could change it.
Next year, we spend the next year as we're looking for other efficiencies. And then we make this a priority to say, we only want to do 1 year at this fee level, and then we really want to strive for 0 fees or no fees or reduced fees.
Yeah, you can do it any time.
Well, one of the questions I have is, we're talking about fees and raising them, lowering, which ones we like and don't like, but I think the question, and I think this was Sarah's point, to me anyway, I can't remember if she brought it up at the work session, but what number are we trying to, what's the target goal here? And so I think the question needs to be is, if we are looking at charging these for a purpose, what's the number? Because I think it's a lot easier to hit a number if we know it, or, to figure out what we need to do, and do we want to charge it all in a workbook fee or make it a combination of all four? And what is the number we're looking at?
The number, if you go back to the list of budget increases and then budget reductions, under the reduction piece, that the three pending items, we talked about the ELL staff, and that's in the works, and nothing that we need to do tonight. But the other one is increase workbook material fees by the $30 and roughly $53,000 that would generate. And then the one right underneath that is the transportation within 2.5 miles. That was charging a fee for that, but when we get to that point, if we look at option 8 or 5, but option 8 would still allow busing, but it would still save $111,000 or somewhere in that, how much? $114,000. So that would give us the number at the bottom there, the 1.4 million, a combination of those things. Now, we could still raise the workbook fee by $30 for a year or however long, and then make a change in transportation and save whatever we agree to is the best solution there. And different combinations will work that way. But what we need to come up with on either fees or savings in any of these things would be roughly $104,000, I'll say.
And I think it's important to remember, because I needed some guidance on this, is that these numbers are estimates. It's not to the penny, it's not even to the dollar. Some of these reductions, we're not sure where they'll end up with savings. So even though it looks great right now to say if we do everything on that list, we'll be at 109,000, and how many jobs will that bring back, which is what I started to do. We can't count on that, so we'd like to give ourselves a little room, correct?
Correct. Just based on the 109,000, I think it would be a mistake to try to bring staff back with that number, just because we're anticipating spending every bit of our reserves this year to get through this year. That would leave us basically nothing for anything happening next year, and I think it's way too big a risk.
And one of the things I wanted to ask, and for me, one of the, we've heard a lot tonight and at prior meetings about music, and while I think that's important, I think the elementary positions are probably the most important thing we have right now, with just the size of those classes. And so for us to reasonably look at lowering those classes or getting them to a more manageable number, what is the number we need to hit that?
The number,
I mean, how many additional staff would we need to bring back, and then how much per staff member?
If we wanted to bring back the three extra positions that we cut out of the elementary, that was 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, reduce each one of those sections, roughly $150,000 with benefits, salary, everything there. So that's kind of the number that you would need.
You really need to be about 250 to 300,000.
Right.
Which LOB could get us close, but we can't count on that. So
Can't count on it, but
we need to be
that would-
making decisions, assuming that that is zero. If
Correct.
that doesn't pass.
And we can, that can happen later if the local option budget passes in July or June, but then in July, we will have a pretty good understanding of where we are. Actually, the first budget workshop is June 13th is when the software will come out, all those things. So we'll have that June 13th, and then after that, we can make adjustments, changes, whatever we need to do if the local option budget passes. But as far as savings from these things, I don't think we can say we're going to bring back anybody based on these figures. Now, if the local option budget passed, I think that would be a different conversation. But just based on this, I don't think we can.
I think maybe the question for the board would be is, where are we at? Does everybody think those elementaries are that important? And then, you know, are there other things? I mean, you know, do we go further than that and start looking at, you know, music or other items, and, you know, how far do you go? Because with the understanding that, you know, I don't think you want to have a $500 workbook fee, but, you know, I think that's probably where we need to be is, you know, figure out as a board where we think the number should be and then try and reverse engineer it to figure out how you get to that number. Otherwise, I think you're just kind of swimming upstream.
We've got some core situation at the middle school that I don't think is completely worked out yet. I mean, there's the music, which, you know, everybody here tonight speaking of music, and maybe I've just completely misunderstood this. We're not eliminating programs and curriculum. It's the two teachers that were teaching the one class together because it was a large class, and then there's some before school stuff that is not going to be allowed to.
Shannon, you want to address, I mean, you were working on that today with music teachers a little bit. I'll let her address the.
Yeah, you're right. We're not eliminating the program. We were just, so at a high school and middle school, we'll cover some elementary classes, because that's where the actual positions were. The elementary will have the same amount of music they have had in the past. As the middle school build their schedule, they'll be able to continue the same offerings. They may not teach as much, which there's value in that, especially at the beginning. So their priority is trying to do some teaching even at the beginning levels, as well as for band and vocal. But the music staff has been amazing, and we are trying to finalize the schedule just in the next couple of days.
I think what's being done to music is we're squeezing it. We're stretching and squeezing, and I don't want to make light of what will be sacrificed. I mean, you know, the number of kids we send to contest, it takes time and effort and multiple instructors to get kids ready for that.
Right, and that's why
So
the conversations I've had is we will reevaluate these at the end of next year. You know, we don't know exactly the impact.
Is there a way?
We'll see how it plays out, but I'm committed to at least evaluate that and as an administrative team and saying, okay, these fees too tight here or there, not just music, counseling, obviously as an administrative team, the class size at elementary level is a priority. So those are the conversations we've had.
So that lies into what I was going to say, and I've got to speak from a community's vantage point here. Of the hundreds of people that I've spoken with in the last month, much concern about music. We heard the list tonight. I mean, we've got a pretty impressive program. Middle school class sizes and elementary school class sizes and the teaching positions, and another workbook fee. I have not had one person that I've talked to have any negatives or any comment whatsoever about a kindergarten fee. Not one. So from a community vantage point, and maybe my select little group that I'm talking to, which is all walks of our community, if everything is so important, why then do we not support a kindergarten fee, but we cut music, we keep adding on to the workbook, textbook fees, and we're not doing anything initially to try to bring back the elementary school teachers. So I still have a difficult time wrapping my head around the fact that the $400 fee for kindergarten is that big of a discouragement, but the activity fee, like if we increase by $30, that's very limited on what we can do, correct? It's going to go into a workbook/activity fund. Is that the way I understood you, Dean?
It never has before,
but it needs
right,
to.
It never has before, but it would now.
Well, it should.
But that's what we discussed. The $400 for kindergarten, what can that money be used for?
To offset the cost of kindergarten.
So therefore, we could use it for whatever we wanted to in the general fund side?
Well, for that purpose, and it would free up some other things then, yes.
Okay.
And Josh, I have heard that people are very concerned about the kindergarten fee. And that it would, parents have been calling in saying that it would change their decision about bringing their students to our district next year.
But on that same token, what if everybody said another increase on textbooks? what if that was gonna be discouragement, and we can go to another district where we don't pay nearly the substantial fees of what Hayes has? I mean, it's a similar argument. One is ongoing from kindergarten through your senior year of high school. The other one is a one-time shot unless you decide to have more children. So which is more damaging in the long run, I guess?
I had this suggestion, and one of the things of going from 2 to 1 at the middle school for that class, what was pointed out to me is that, that it's a large class, and being able to take those kids and teach them is very difficult. And I said, well, how do they do it at the high school? And at the high school, they have an accompanist, and we don't have that at the middle school. And usually that's not a teaching position. It's usually a lower paid position. I don't know if it's as low as like a para, but is that an option that we could look at that would still allow for some of those things to be less money but not the full savings?
Sure, any of those things are options.
And I guess without trying to get too far away from the plan, I don't want to turn this whole thing on its head, but I guess I still get back to where is everybody at? I mean, the fee part of it, I think, we had a lengthy discussion, and I was part of sidetracking that last week, but I decided I'm going to try and stay more focused and get us all headed in the right direction. But I think we need to figure out what do we want to add back, and then look at the fees, because otherwise it's just creating a fee for the sake of creating a fee, and if we really are trying to go fee less, then I think we're working against ourselves. So, I mean,
Well, I think my thoughts on the fee over the kindergarten is if somehow the funding would become better next year, if the tax revenues are up and Brownback gives us more money, we have burdened the whole district with the fees this year instead of one kindergarten class. And, we can roll those fees right back out next year if we get more funding or more students. But, so I'm more in favor of fees and less in favor of charging for kindergarten. That's my point.
but do you, Marty, and I'm not to put you on the spot, but you were speaking, so, I mean, are you okay just with this and not worrying about the elementary, or are you wanting to look to add some of those back, or? I'm going to ask everybody the same question. So.
Yeah, well, the 27 kids in one class, that is a big problem. If you've been in one of those classrooms and sat in there with 27 kids, it's tight. And I don't know how much learning is going to go on in there. So it would be good if we could get a couple of those back. But are we talking with the busing in this conversation? Did you add that in?
Well, I think those 4 fees all roll into it, but I would like to focus more on what we're adding back first, so then we can then say, if we are looking at busing, because, I'm looking at a $30 fee or a $60, and 60 raises $106,000 on a workbook fee versus 30, but do you need to do that if you're not going to add any elementary teachers back?
No, we don't need to do that if we're not adding elementary schools back. But if we go with option 8 on the transportation and realize that $100,000, and we go to $30 or $50 on the enrollment fees and $25 on the pay to participate, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. I'm not speaking for anybody else on this board, but I would vote for that.
But do you think we need to look to add those 3 positions back?
I do.
Sarah, where are you at?
I fully agree. And if we have a dollar figure and it's 250,000, then as we're going through these decisions, and if we can do the math quickly, I think it would be an easier discussion if we're all in agreement that that's our priority.
James?
I agree with what Sarah and Marty have said, and the way I look at it, and, I've talked to a lot of kindergarten parents, and when you look at that, $400 may deter them, where you look 30 to 50 bucks if they have to go out of district for it. I think legally, Bill, we can't bus out of district, right? Or another district can't come into our district to bus?
Come to our borders, not in the district unless we agree.
So, if someone looks at that, if they would want to go to a different school, they'd definitely be paying more in fuel, but, I agree with it. Option 8 on the busing and a $30 to $50 fee. I was, I believe, the last school class to go through USD 489 with half-day kindergarten. Because I know after that, it was mandated. So we look at how many classes it went through full-day kindergarten, and I would think, you know, a $30 fee is definitely worth the education someone gleaned.
Danielle, where are you at on that?
No, I agree. I mean, like we talked at the work session, our priority was to reduce class size, and to do that, we need to see if we need to bring, you know, some teachers back in the elementary. And, I mean, I'd have to agree with Marty on what he said, the $25 for the activity card, and that's what I would be looking at for that, and then the 30, or if we want to go a little bit higher on the workbook fees, I would be more, I'd vote for that over the kindergarten.
Josh?
Well, it's no secret that I think the elementary school positions are first and foremost priority. Fee-wise, we've got to do something, especially if we're going to get to the goal in which we can return teachers to those positions. I'm going to lean towards Dean and Shanna that somehow the kindergarten situation, even though it's contrary to what I feel, is more damaging. Pay to participate, I think we need to get the guidelines worked out. I think we might need to go a step farther and even maybe examine some elective type situations. But I'm in favor of fees. I just don't know that it's exactly the way I've got it shaped out in my head necessarily. But
Just rough math, I mean, just going by what Marty had just said.
I don't want to cut off Lance at all. He's the
Oh,
one
I'm
that
sorry,
hasn't
I'm
spoken
sorry.
on
I
this,
thought
so-
you already
Go
went
ahead,
through
Lance.
it. Sorry, Lance.
I didn't want him to get out of it.
Yeah, no.
No, I agree as well with with a lot of what Marty said, actually. The way I was looking at it is even just going through, and I've heard from those in favor of the kindergarten fee and those opposed. So I've heard from both sides on that, and obviously definitely something to look at, but I'm also just looking at it from the aspect of the money that we would bring in by charging the $400. I mean, we're looking at approximately $54,000 versus, I mean, we can also get the same amount by increasing, you know, $30 from the workbook fee, and as we were talking, if we go up to 50 or 60, you know, we're substantially higher than that, possibly twice that amount. So I guess it just, in my opinion, something to look at. I mean, I think it's obviously something we want to work towards to try to get the kindergarten or the grade school teachers possibly put back in. But at the end of the day, we have to have a number we're shooting for at the end there. So we're not just cutting to cut stuff. I mean, I think we need to go through and make sure that what that end number is going to be. And that sounds to me what Dean's put together here and where we need to be. So.
Well, I think I've already spoken on it, so I guess, Dean, turn back to you.
Just doing the quick math here on what Marty's proposal, if you looked at the $25 activity fee for 6 through 12 that they charge some for now, and then if you looked at option 8 in busing, and then a $50 workbook fee, that would generate about $237,000. I think that's what you came up with as well. I mean, but we had.
What you said, a $30 workbook fee?
That was figuring the $50, but we can go whatever direction we think we need to. Let's see.
Well, I was just running 60, which would just be, it would be 106,740. One question I do have on the activity fee of the $25, though, that's going to go back to the buildings, correct?
Right.
And so, do we actually realize that savings?
We would, in the sense that we won't be subsidizing some of those budgets that much. When they come to us and ask for, we need this or that, we always pay it. I don't know what the dollar amount is, if you have that or not, but.
Just to complicate things a little bit on that, I know we've heard a lot about 7th grade sports and adding that and not budgeting it. Could we look at a $25 fee at the high school and a $50 fee at the middle school? I know it's inconsistent, but
You could,
I guess that's more of a question to the board versus,
Middle school parents have more money than high school parents?
not necessarily, and I guess maybe it'd be better to charge them all 50, but the way I look at it, if you charge $60, just from a numbers perspective, if you charge $60 and you went with option 8, you're going to realize $118,454 more than, what is our bottom line on that? I can't, is it 109?
109 is what this is.
So you'd be at about $227,000 roughly. The $25, if you charged it, would be another 30, which would put you just over 250. But I would rather err on the side of about 300 than 250.
But Greg, you're gonna have to take out that 49.
That's already backing those out. That if you take out the 53,000 and the 49 and add those in, it's 221. So it's 118 difference is what it is, and then plus that's not figuring anything on the activity fee, but that would get you at 120, about $128,400, or I'm sorry, $300.
So those elementary school positions not important enough to charge all-day kindergarten? If we can't get to that number?
I'm just really concerned that that could go the wrong way. That we start losing enrollment numbers.
And I understand that, and that's terrible. If $400 isn't worth the education that you're going to get at Hayes in general, then there's something wrong with our education system as well. I mean, I look at it that way. So I try to reverse. I try to go back to with like my first child, dirt poor, scraping for money, looking through couch cushions still maybe to go find something. I look at the costs that I had associated with my first son that I was paying versus putting him in these elementary schools that we have. I think are amazing. I mean, I think we have some really awesome elementary schools. And if I had to pick between driving to some other place, not to knock them, versus paying a one-time fee for my kindergarten kid, to me, this is me, my opinion only, so it's hard to get out of your own opinion. I understand that. If I could pick between guaranteeing I could get 3 elementary school kids back and pay a $400 fee to make sure that we are providing that education at the highest level for those kids starting off, I have a hard time not supporting that. I really do. I want those teachers back, and I want the best education that we can. I've said this before, my 3 children love school, love it, for a reason. They got started off on the right foot. That makes or breaks it. So.
Can I ask a question? Because I think we're assuming some things on the transportation option, but.
Right.
And Russ, it may be time for you to come up and face the fire, but we talked last time about reducing routes and that we could drop 4 routes, and Russ made a comment that made me very uneasy, and he said we could do that, and I want to deal with certainties that if we did this, that we would do that, because, I mean, if we say we could do it, but we don't, well, then we haven't saved any of the money, and we're just going to put ourselves right back into the same position next year we're in this year. So if we go with option 8, how many routes can we drop? And I know that we're talking about jobs, but if we drop routes, how many positions does that eliminate, if any?
Well, we base our information off of Power School and how many students we have over 2.5 miles in the city limits, and that's like 262 students. Will all those ride the bus? Probably not. So we had to figure out, we don't know until enrollment time what that number will be. So on the worst case scenario, we figured with 4 routes, we have to have room on those buses. So that's why we figured we'd drop 4 city routes and have 4 routes to take care of those students over 2.5 miles. Now, we won't know that until enrollment time. There shouldn't be more than that, no. So I'm guessing it could even be less than that. So if we can get less than that, there's a possibility we could drop down even another route.
Less students or less routes, or both?
Well, less students will create less routes.
What we had talked about, Greg, when Tracy, Russ, and I met was 4 is a definite, and then possibly 5 depending, we didn't count it in here yet because we don't know, but 4 would be a definite, and then the reduction of overtime, and you talk about the number of positions, that would be, I think, we're what, 3 drivers down
We're
now?
basically 3 short now, yes. So not hiring back those positions.
Some would go from full to part-time and those.
And then becoming more efficient with our routes.
Would we, if you drop those 4 routes as well, would we get rid of those 4 buses as well, or sell those off?
Well, those buses, those buses are still in the system, if, just by getting rid of them, like right now, I got 3 buses that we're not fixing because of money, So we're still gonna need some buses, but get rid of a few. Right now, with everything we got, with those 3 buses down, we have 1 bus down. If we got 4 activity trips going at that time, we're without a bus. So those activity buses are our spare buses right now. So could we get rid of them? We could get rid of a few that are at that retirement age or that are not feasible to fix right now. So those, we could get rid of a couple buses possibly.
Are we still on that 15-year replacement plan? Are we still on schedule for that on the buses?
Well, we got 2 new buses this year, activity bus and a school bus. So I know we presented to you, but I think in the next few months, we'll probably present a different, not different, but renew that plan and look at it again on the Suburbans and cars and the buses.
But if you scale out those 4 buses, those would be the next 4 that would be replaced, I presume, and that will allow you to get caught up.
I would say this next year, if we got rid of 4 routes, it gives us a little more working room for next year or 2 until kind of we get back on our feet, yes. And I talked about, we could do some leasing, lease to purchase possibly, if that's another option you'd like to look at once we get there. It gives us, a lesser amount to get in for a few years or something, just as another avenue.
Dean, I'm a big advocate for option 5 on this, but I think option 8's the less global option and gives us the opportunity to at least evaluate what reducing does to us. If we go 5, we can't really, well, you could go back, but if you don't make the changes to save you the money, you can't.
It would be hard, yes.
But where are we if we do this on charging a fee to those people that aren't entitled to ride the bus?
If we charge fee, I think we're going to go back in the same place we just came from.
I think if
possibly.
I think if we get to that point to where we say we're going to bus students that are under 2.5, I think it needs to pay for the route.
But I'm saying right now, those that are in town and over 2.5 miles aren't entitled to be bused. Could we charge those people a fee? Not open up the floodgates again.
It wouldn't pay, we get state reimbursement if we offer it, and it wouldn't, the fee would have to be very high to make up the difference. We're better off offering busing and then collecting the waiting on transportation.
Because we can't collect
Yeah, I see what
the
you're
fee
asking, not the ones under, but yeah.
If we count for waiting, we can't collect the fee.
Correct.
So the 114.5, that's basically the baseline guaranteed savings then, which could potentially be more.
I think there's a good potential to be more.
Okay.
Well, just to throw out some numbers, if we adopt item 8 under G and under the FIII, and I don't know if we were considering G, I guess we threw it in there, but on the pay to participate, if we did $50 there, that would be $64,200, and we did $60 on the workbook and enrollment fee. My numbers are that bottom line on that other spreadsheet would be $292,540. And I hope not everybody's relying on my numbers. I think they're accurate, but I would like to see Tracy or somebody
Just so
verify that.
you said your proposal or what you're talking about is on the participation?
If you did $50 on the participation fee.
Okay.
And you did,
Participation fee or the activity fee?
well, the pay to participate, item 3, whatever.
Are you still talking about doing the 25?
You're just talking 6 through 12?
Whatever the one that
Okay.
I thought that was $50 for every middle and high school kid.
Yeah.
Is that 6 through 12 or 7 through 12?
6?
That would be 6 that we're currently charging because they get into all the events also, and also have to pay their ID.
That's
And
a
that's
little
part of the $12
confusing,
activity fee.
because we're calling it the pay to participate.
Well, this is a different, this wouldn't be pay to participate. This is a different,
Okay.
yeah,
But
it
it's
needs to be a
titled
different
that.
title.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
it wouldn't be
So
called.
we're not talking about the pay to participate.
No.
We're talking about activity fee.
We just increased the activity fee, so every student that would pay one fee for the whole year. And then adding $60 to the workbook fee, or $106,740, and then the $114,514 for the busing.
And I come up with $288,390.
We're close, $4,100 apart.
That's $60 on the workbook fee though, right?
Yeah, is that what you figured?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that would be enough to comfortably bring back the 3 elementary teachers?
Well, I don't think three.
$60.
I think we would need, because that would, still, I mean, we're, bringing it back may be July or August.
Right, yeah,
I mean,
not tonight.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would feel much more comfortable, yes, saying that's going to go a long ways towards that. But until we know, all of these other unknowns, I think, I don't want to come out and say that we're going to bring back these teachers if these fees increase. It's a good chance, but until we know. Does that make sense, or?
Yeah.
Well, it's not good that you're joking about it.
Although when I have to write that check on enrollment day, I'm going to be joking.
Well, it's 110 if you're elementary or middle and high school.
That's true.
So then, a family of 4 would pay $240 plus a $50 activity fee.
You're saying for 2 kids, you mean?
No, I'm just,
Or 4 students?
$60. What are the average numbers for textbook fees? I mean, if we go to $160, does that put us pretty high?
We are high now.
Or we're already high? Yeah, I won't.
I don't disagree that it's high. I don't think any of these are fun, but I think if we look at it from the aspect that this is hopefully the LOB goes through, and this is a 1-year number, but if not, I mean, I guess the question is are big class sizes better or worse than the fee? And I guess it might depend if you're paying it. The alternative is, though, you could go hit the kindergartners. I mean, we looked at some of those are charging $2,600 a year to attend, but I mean, when you're talking about $60 being a lot, $400 is even more.
Well, I don't think $400 is necessarily a set in stone fee either. I mean, something would be better than nothing in that regard. Because again, I'm going to have to ask the question, how is having the highest fees in the state, and then we're adding activity on top of that, how does that not become more discouraging? Because if you took your children to Victoria, that's a minimum of $475 a year in fuel. That's a minimum. That's on outrageously fantastic gas mileage. But and fees, when you install fees, I'm not saying we can't get them back, but the way of the world is usually against that. Once you implement a fee, things become dependent upon it, and it usually ends up sticking around. I mean, what if we backed off? If $100 is a high enrollment fee, why haven't we backed off of that?
We did about a year ago drop some, but
what
it
happened?
takes a long time to get rid of them. You're
Exactly.
right.
So it's just,
I think
I'm not
that's
saying anybody's wrong here. That's not what I mean. It's just, this is worrisome. I want the teachers back. I mean, I do. I mean, that is something that I just think is a priority. If we can spread it out a little bit more instead of just hitting it so hard in a couple areas, to me, that still makes more sense. Because if you talk to the parents of the community, I mean, you don't want to give a $400 fee, But we just jacked a lot of them to over $300 in addition.
But, you know, I kind of look at it too, though, if you're, let's say these are a one-year only fee, and I know that you know, 400's not set in stone, but let's assume we use that because we've kind of stuck with some of these other numbers, but, you know, that one family's going to get stuck with the $400 for that child, and the others don't pay any extra, and, I mean, that, you know, to me, it just, we've had years where nobody's paid, or forever, nobody's paid for full-day kindergarten. And, you know, to me, if we're going to do kindergarten, it needs to be a fee that we as a board agree that we're going to implement, and we're going to charge that fee until the state picks up the bill on it. That's the only way, for me, that's the only way I would vote to support it.
I agree with that.
Okay, so if we're not looking at $400, then why don't we, what about 200? I'm just throwing numbers, but.
Then you just gotta adjust your other fees.
Do you charge
That's
for
why I'm
free and
asking.
reduced lunch for that?
The way they have it figured here, I think they're taking that out of there.
Yeah, free doesn't pay.
Without thinking it through for another 2 weeks, yeah, I mean, I think everybody should be entitled to the same payment. I do. It seems so often anymore it becomes common theme to shoulder the majority with the burden of a few. And that's a hard concept for me to get comfortable with. I'm not saying it's correct or incorrect, but again, we're, you know, a $60 fee on the textbooks goes up, $160 a kid. It just seems like it's a lot. It's a lot.
Okay, now, the all-day kindergarten fee, does that already have that $100 workbook fee included into it? Or not?
I don't think so.
This fee?
Yeah, so if we implemented a $400 kindergarten fee, like you just said, does that include, is the $100 that you pay in the workbook already included in there? Because kindergartners pay that, right? That 100 right now? So yeah, it'd be 500 for them.
Oh, I thought that was total.
No.
Okay,
Well-
so we go 300. That makes
That's
sense.
what I'm saying, $200-300.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could deal with that as long
That
as we,
number, I mean,
Marty, sir, what
like
are
we
your
were talking
thoughts on that?
$30.
Huh?
What are your thoughts on that?
I'm against it. I'll vote no on any kind of fee on kindergarten, but that's just me. It's that important to me that those kids go to all-day kindergarten. And if it held one kid back from going, I would be shirking my responsibility. In my opinion, I could be wrong.
Well, how do we want to proceed? I mean, I think if there's other discussion, I don't want to stifle that, but I think we need either probably,
Can I ask this, because our financial picture changes if LOB goes through, correct?
Yes.
Is there any way we could make this decision regarding the kindergarten fee and the activity fee until after we see what happens with the LOB? I think transportation, I believe we're all there.
I think the problem that you run into with that is if you're that parent that's got to pay $500 for a kindergartner and we're going to wait until July 1st or after, is it July 20, what is the date? It's July 27th, is that right?
The election?
Yeah.
It's June.
Okay, so, but you're July 1, you won't know until July 1, and that's a pretty big hit, so. I mean, I would rather say, I mean, if we were looking at doing it, I'd rather say tonight, we're gonna do it, and you can always take it back, but I'd rather not go the other way. I'm with Marty, though. On the kindergarten fee, I don't think I could be persuaded to add one.
And I understand what Marty's saying.
Could we split the, hold on, could we split the difference though? I mean, we talked about instead of the $400 kindergarten fee, we go 200. I mean, could we even see where we'd be at? I mean, what would it be?
Well, it's gonna
if we
basically
went-
take
if we said
25,000 off.
100?
Well, but, I mean, if I want to play devil's advocate on this, you know, if we're going to say, well, kindergarten's not required, it's just easy. And so we say, well, the state only funds half day. Well, the state doesn't fund any of our football program. It doesn't fund any of our musical. It doesn't fund any of those things. And so if we're going to look at it that way, we would say, well, let's take another easy one and chop it off, or charge a $400 fee to play this activity or sport, and I don't think that's right either. But I just think you're really just sectioning out one grade level out of 13 and saying, we're short money, you guys are going to pick up the cost. And especially a grade level that I think everybody up here would agree is probably one of the most important ones. And so.
I wouldn't be sectioning them out. This would be something that I would have every single year.
But, I mean, why, I understand what you're saying, but you are sectioning them out versus any other non-mandated state or non-mandated activity in the district.
Every other class, we receive money for full day. This is, I don't think this is that's not a good comparison to take sports and kindergarten.
But they're
One's a
different.
class,
But
one's an activity that you elect to go and do that you don't have to. I mean, you've got to go to school. You've got to go to kindergarten. You never have to play football. I guess I don't see where those are an analogy that. And I understand, Marty, I don't want to deter anybody from going to school, but I also don't want to punish the education at the other grades by having 27, 28, 28. And I guess I just don't see the deterrent there. I don't see how there's a better option to go somewhere else for less money unless you would just choose to do it solely out of spite. I mean, I guess that would be, because if you dropped the fee from $400 back down to, let's say, $200, where else could you go for less, I guess?
Homeschooling.
But I mean, I think every parent has the right to, I mean, that's a decision that they have.
Yeah.
But I don't want to debate this anymore.
I'm going to make a motion to amend for an amendment that we agree to adopt item 8 on the transportation options, and that we go with that to realize a $114,514 savings.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the amendment? And that would be the only motion. So all the rest of those options would be off the table, just the transportation. Any discussion on that?
No, but if I could just comment, I appreciate the work that's been done to get us to this point on the transportation decision. I think it's a good model for us going forward to look for cost efficiencies. You did say up there a magic phrase, which you said there could be more efficiencies there. And so I think that in all areas, we need to continue to look for efficiencies and cost savings. But I appreciate the letters and the emails that we received, everybody stepping up and getting us to this point. I think it's a good compromise. So thank you.
I agree.
Yeah, I'd like to agree. Russ, you've been under fire for, I think since you took the job here, so definitely our hats are off to you, and I look really forward. I think option 8 is really a good blend of everything that we really needed to do, and so definitely this time next year, looking forward to that report again.
Don't quit looking.
Yeah. Thank all of you bus drivers also that came forward and shared your concerns on it as well. It's appreciated.
Okay, any further discussion? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. So just so we're clear, now we've approved the amendment, so now we're back on to the motion, and the amendment is, Elizabeth, do you need that?
I got it recorded.
Okay. So now we are at the point, if there's any further discussion, currently, all items under F are no longer on for the motion. We can still discuss them, but my plan on this was we'd take these one by one.
Okay.
Any further discussion? So on the motion to implement the bus and transportation, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 7-0. So that item is resolved. I would then make a motion under the workbook and enrollment fee to increase that fee from $100 to $160 for next year only. That is a motion.
Second.
It's been moved by myself, seconded by Board Member Liker. Is there any discussion?
And you're putting the provision in there for basically for 1 year only to read.
Correct.
Did it get seconded?
Yes.
Yeah. Where'd we come up with 60? I was at 50, but where did we come to 60? That was just a number you pulled out of the air?
Yeah, I just doubled the 30, so.
Takes you to 106.
It got us to $100,000 and got us closer to that $300,000 number, which gives us about 100,000 cushion and allows us to have the 3 elementary teachers, is my thought.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 6-1. The next item is on the activity fee, or it's under pay to participate, but I would make a motion that we increase the activity fee to $50 for 1 year only.
Second.
Why?
It's been moved by myself, second by Board Member Liker. Any discussion?
On these 1 year only, that's making it look like this shortfall is going to resolve itself and all. These are costs that we're still going to be carrying.
Maybe. You don't know that.
Well, it doesn't, it's not, it doesn't handicap us to next year carrying it forward, but the plan is it's going to be a 1 year only, and that without further action, it'll be gone next year. I mean, it doesn't say that this board next year couldn't do the same, implement or carry them forward, or, you might decide that half of those, instead of 160, it's 130, or instead of 50 extra, it's 25. Dean, what will that make the activity fee then?
If you're talking about, that's what I was going to ask here, if you're talking about a $50
increase,
it would be 66 for high school and 62 for middle school.
Any further discussion?
I know we need dollars, but we've now doubled the increase we originally started with on the workbook enrollment fee, and now we're talking about doubling the original fee that was being proposed for the activity. So I would rather stay, if we're going to double that workbook fee, can we not stay with the just the $25 increase on the activity fee? Because I feel that we are just signing away the stroke of a pen fees that parents are going to have to show up on enrollment day and pay. And these are pretty steep increases when you have multiple children.
I agree.
I don't disagree. I guess my only concern is I think the teaching positions are important. I just don't know where it'd be ideally you wouldn't raise any fees, but then you'd have both. I just don't know how you do it.
Well, and these are all contingent on the LOB vote, too.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, if that goes through, all of a sudden, that produces fees real quick and still brings the teachers on.
Not all of them,
It's tough to
but
put stock on something that
You don't know if it's
is
going
a
to
what
pass.
if, and a giant what if, I would say at this point. It's just hard to put stock in that. I'm not going to vote for something because I think, hey, the background, this is going to work out for us. No, either I believe in it or I don't believe in it. And I think we are escalating these fees extremely fast, extremely high. And you want to talk about, well, we'll get to phone calls. I mean, that's part of it, I understand that. But, man, we're jumping everything up fast, and I don't support the full, we got some other things that we can do here to still get these teachers. But, we got ourselves in a bad financial spot. What do? We lay off teachers. We get ourselves in a bad financial spot. What do? We rapidly increase the cost in which we're going to tack onto the parents. I mean, we got some other options here. How much do we got to come up with? We got to come up with $50,000. I think we got some things that we can come up with to do that, rather than just, bam. Parents paying $500-600 more now for their families to go to school. And it is, we're talking that much. You got several of them that are in the multiple look at the numbers. 367 kids in high school in sports, 250 some of them in music, almost 400 of them in music in middle school.
That's only, that $50 is just a one-time fee for every student, not just, it doesn't matter if you're...
That doesn't matter. That doesn't mean that it's not raising the rate for somebody $500 to $600 for a school year. That doesn't change that for the next school year. I didn't say it was forever. So,
What other options are you thinking?
well, I don't think we've got to the administrative level yet, as far as potential reductions and some salaries there. I'm never going to support the idea that we get in a bad financial crisis, which came from the top down, and we shoulder all of the burden on teachers and parents. I mean, I think there has to be some sort of good faith effort, and no disrespect intended to the new leadership that we have here, but to say that they are 100% exempt, I just think is a strange message to send. You know, if you want me to donate $5,000 to the good fund of getting these teachers back, I'm in. I mean, I'll do what I have to do. I will make sure that we get these elementary school teachers back. And just to shoulder everybody else just isn't what I want. It's not what I'm comfortable doing.
Well, I think on the administrator side, I think that ship sailed back in March.
No, that was on positions necessarily. That wasn't on pay cuts or pay reductions, if I understand that correctly.
Bill?
I think we screwed up.
The salaries are the same salaries as this year unless there's a overall reduction for all employees, and then they would have a corresponding reduction in salary. So that would require negotiations with ADA on salary reduction.
And SEIU.
And SEIU.
And
Although
it wouldn't take much necessarily to come up with 50,000.
No, I mean, if you could get an agreement on that, even the 1.85 from last year was 270-ish, somewhere in that neighborhood.
That would take care of all of it.
Or you could look at a very tiny fraction to come up with 50,000.
I think the problem with that, though, is last year we finished up negotiations after the start of the school year, and we might do that earlier this year, but the way I look at these fees, these are our only thing we can do other than cutting staff to generate any funds. You know, negotiating things like, well, anything in the contract are options, but if we don't negotiate them, we don't get it. It's kind of like the LOB. We can wait around and see if that comes through and then plan, but I think we need to get something in place that says we've got a plan for that, and if we can negotiate, we can lower fees. If we can get the LOB passed, or if the voters approve the LOB, then that'll offset a lot of these, but those are just unknowns, and
I agree with you. I'm in favor of you talk about fees, you're not in favor of a kindergarten fee.
Right.
I am, which I think would make up a vast majority of that remaining difference. So we didn't just double everything else and give a full kindergarten fee. I think we could scale a couple back, moderate the kindergarten fee, and still be very
That's
close.
what I'm wondering. Instead of making it one or the other, we either do the kindergarten fee or we do the workbook enrollment fee, you know, except now we're adding this on too. But what if we moderate across the board? So instead of the $400 fee for kindergarten, we look at a $100 fee. Maybe we go with the $25 on the activity fee and we go back to $30. I know it's not as much as we were just talking about, but at that point we spread it out a little bit.
And then the 114.
And it's not such a dramatic increase.
We've still got the 114,000.
It's a moderate increase across the board. Now, I realize for the kindergarten parent, they're going to get hit with 2 of those 3. For the middle school student and the high school student, they're going to get hit with 2 of the 3. But
I like the balance.
it does balance it a little bit more.
If you drop those fees, now you gotta raise 85,000 from the kindergartners, the middle schoolers are gonna pay 32, and the others are gonna pay 53. So we're still saddling up the,
So what do those add up to be then?
well, I'm just saying, if you stick with the same number, if you just reduce the workbook fee from 60 to 30, and the activity fee from 50, a $50 increase to a 25, the number between that is $85,470 that you've got to come up with to get to the same point. So, I mean, I just look at, I don't know,
Well, 114 plus 53,
well, it depends what number you're trying to get to.
well, 250 I thought was the,
And I think you got to me, I think you'd be trying to get closer to 275 to 3. The number we were at would have been 288, 440 or something like that. 288 something.
they already, I mean, the $160 textbook fee was approved already.
Yeah. You voted
Make a
with,
motion to undo it, couldn't we?
if you voted in the prevailing party, you can, which you did.
So what, all right, let's go back to the math.
I'm sorry, point of clarification, Dean, on the kindergarten fees, the reduced lunch at 200 versus the 400?
That's what we currently do is charge half
Half,
of
okay.
what the regular fee is and then free don't.
If I'm
or exempt.
proposing 100 for a kindergarten fee, then I
They
would
would pay-
count 50 of that times the 22 students,
Right.
which is nominal.
I mean, $200 is going to be
I
about
know.
25,000. So you're probably about
Right.
12.5.
And
If you did a $100 fee on kindergarten, you'd be about $12,500 would be the amount you would raise.
a workbook fee increase of $40 is 71,000. You know, instead of going to 60, we should go back to 40.
I think the bottom line, what we need to understand, if you know, take the 114,000 out of it, you're at about $170,000 we're going to raise in fees. And so we can either target that 170 on a specific area, or you can try and spread it out to everybody. And that's what I think with the workbook fee and the activity fee, that's what that's doing. You know, at the activity fee at the middle and high school level, it's saying, look, you may not play football or you may not sing in the chamber singers, but you get the benefit of those. You get to attend those events and do those things. So that fee gets spread out to everybody. You know, the school dances and all of those things, that all goes into the experience. And so that's getting spread out amongst all middle and high school students. And the workbook and enrollment fee gets spread out to every student in the district versus targeting kindergarten and saying, you're going to pay for it. I mean, it's...
I know, it's just...
It's be like saying, well, FFA at the high school needs to pay the $200 fee because we need to raise it, and we're going to just target FFA, or the electric car, or, you know.
But I think when we had the kindergarten discussion, we were looking at that $400, which is high. And I think that number was chosen based on was $400 just to cover our cost? Is that where the 400
No,
came from?
it doesn't cover
Not even
our
close.
cost. That,
Okay,
it-
so where did the 400 come from?
just a...
Daycare
what
alternative?
did- Yeah, I mean, we...
Okay, okay. So I guess I'm just throwing out the idea, if it were 100 or 150, does it make that option more palatable to the public, to an incoming kindergarten parent who possibly would balk at the 400, balk at a 200, but for 150, they would realize we need that money and they'd stay in the district so we don't lose that student? Versus angering a lot of people by raising workbook fees by $60 and then an activity fee by $50.
pick numbers, and you could raise it all by the kindergarten parents, they're a smaller group.
I like 200, because it gives us 25.
I mean, the reality is the kindergarten parent, if they're a working parent, they've been paying daycare. And they're looking forward to going from
Sure.
$400 or $500 they're paying per month to zero. But could they stomach going from 500 to 100?
I see where everybody's coming at on the kindergarten fees here, and the only way I would go for it is if it was basically kind of a long-term deal, as we had mentioned before, because I look at that and, okay, so we do 400, we raise it $60 on everybody this year, it's $460, so $560 to go to kindergarten. You take that, instead of spreading it across everybody, it's $60, that's 8 years that thing takes to pay off. 7 years, it'd be 7 years at $60 for a kindergartner. So basically, they're going from kindergarten through 8th grade, paying a $60 a year fee. And we don't know. I mean, the thing is, if the state's looking at funding kindergarten all day, because as Shanna, nodded off too, I mean, kindergarten's very, very important. I mean, it is the foundation, and you talk to any kindergarten teacher, if they're not there all day, the first grade teacher knows the difference real fast. And so if we're looking at doing something like that, I mean, it's got to be one of those that's set for, many years down the road where we don't back off until the state does fund it.
Well, I think if you look at the 85, going back to the kindergarten fees, you have 126 that pay the full, or that we anticipate would pay the full fee, and 22 that would pay the half, so just figure, what is it, 137 students? So if you take 85,470, what's that?
You said 126 and 22.
Yeah, but you take, they're only paying half, so it's 11 total. So you'd be at 137, so to just offset that, that's $624 per kid, or thereabouts.
To offset what?
That 85,000 we cut, if you cut the workbook fee back down and the activity fee, which would be about almost 11 years, so they'd almost be seniors under your scenario.
Well, yeah, and Josh, I mean, here's the way I kind of look at it. If we do these fees and we do them 1 year, we're not stopping, like you said. There's more efficiencies here somewhere. And so we keep continually coming up with those efficiencies, those fees drop or go away. And that's the end goal, is completely make it a fee-free school.
Yeah.
So yeah, as of right now, we can't wait till October
No, I know.
to decide.
I know.
I think whatever plan we have, we need to have the maximum fee set tonight, so people can plan accordingly. But what that is.
And I would propose a moderate increase across the board. So we increase the workbook by 30, the activity fee by 25, and 100 on the kindergarten. That gets us, I think, 99,000.
So $130 fee.
I mean,
How much on kindergarten did you say?
She said
well,
100.
Until state funds.
until state funds. I mean, I guess I don't see the difference in, if we're willing to increase these other fees and cap it for 1 year, what is the difference on the kindergarten fee?
Because everybody else went through already, got it for free.
Well, but I happen to have, I'm having a senior graduate, so I dodged a bullet on that one,
I think the drawback to that is, in my mind, two things. One, I agree with what James said. You're picking out one group and saying, well, you guys are going to start shouldering the burden from here on out for the rest of us. And I don't think that's appropriate. And even if we did the 100, you'd have, if you cut those other two fees, as you said, that you're still at that 85,470, but if you raise that $100, that's only $13,700, so you're still $71,000 short. Now, you may not need all of that if you want to get back to that point, but somehow you've got to raise, I mean, it's either going to be, the ideal way is you spread it out on a local option budget and the cost per person gets pretty cheap. But if we don't have that, you've got now a smaller group of people that are going to pick up the bill, which is all parents whose kids attend the district.
I don't see, I wouldn't say that that's shouldering the burden necessarily. It would go back to busing in a way. Kindergarten, the second half of it is not paid for. We pay that, we provide that. Therefore, it falls more into a luxury type situation, I would think, rather than a shouldering of the burden. And my numbers were a little bit higher. First of all, I mean, does everybody not have to pay? I mean, we keep going back with this reduction of people that are going to pay. We have the right to where every child that's going to attend kindergarten can pay that fee. At $200, which I'm not saying that $200 is the number, but at $200, that's $46,000 if all 230-some children were paying. But I don't look at it as a shouldering of the burden. I would be fine with that, paying a fee, knowing as a parent, the state does not provide for this. It hurts what we can do with our education. It's especially making an impact for us at the grade school. I guess I don't see, it just doesn't look as negative to me. But again, maybe I'm just completely off. But I would do it until it's funded.
Oh, yeah, I'm the same way, and as Greg said, you are shouldering the burden if it is only 1 or 2 years, but if we set it and we say until the state fully funds it, it's going to be there. I'm okay with that, but 1, 2 years, which we don't know what it's going to do, they are shouldering that burden.
And it could end up being 1 or 2 years.
They're paying their share.
Well, but you look at everybody else that kind of squeaked through.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of things that you didn't pay for before that you do now. I mean, that's just kind of the dynamics of the ever-changing world that we live in. I mean, so I don't look at it as it's not fair. I look at it as it's an unfortunate time for all of us. But I mean, life's not fair in general.
But I mean, you got to look. Do we feel kindergarten's more important than, a supplemental that's not mandated by the state that we're not paying, fees for? Or some other things? Like you said, there's a lot of things in here that basically the state doesn't mandate and we pay for. So until we find those, where do we go?
I'm not opposed to examining those.
No, I'm not either.
And we talked about efficiencies. There's a lot of efficiencies that we have not kicked in yet. Therefore, we don't know what those savings are going to generate us either. I mean, good discussion. I think everybody makes very, very solid points. I'm not trying to be combative either or argumentative. I think it's a pretty good open discussion here.
Did we share these numbers with the public? Or has
They're on the
nobody seen
agenda.
$400?
I don't think anybody's seen that.
It's been out there.
It's been out there? Because I just wonder if the negative feedback that I heard was in response to a $400 fee.
That would be my assumption that's,
And if we were to come in with something less, would it change those who were against it?
Well, that wasn't like publicly made in an actual article, was it? That was in that document. You had to download the document, right?
Which people do.
Well, I think it was only on Hayes Post, so.
we talked about it at a board meeting early and had that.
But I think yeah, we did. When you look at the number, even if you charge it for everybody, the difference being that whatever you charge for the kindergarten fee has to be so much higher because you're looking at less than 10% of the total student population is going to pick up that fee versus the entire population becomes a lower fee for everybody. I'm not happy charging an additional fee on this to anybody. I agree that there shouldn't be even $100 fee for workbooks, the activity fee. You say it's free education, you shouldn't have any of those. But the reality is if we want to continue to maintain the level we have, you're going to have some fees. And it's just a matter of who pays them.
And Dean, this isn't the stop of looking for efficiencies, right?
I'm sorry?
This isn't the stop of looking for efficiencies, right?
Oh, God, no.
Yeah.
No. That's what, the direction we need to move and get.
So the fees could go down before August.
We could.
I think we've got a motion on the table on the activity fee, which was a $50 increase, which would have a net result of $66 at the high school and $62 at the middle school. Do we have any further discussion on that? If not, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 7-0. And
I was talking to Tracy.
Oh,
I
I'm
did
sorry.
not hear the motion at all.
it was the motion that was on the table on the activity fee for $50.
Okay.
How did you?
Did we already do the work? Now I'm getting lost.
Yeah,
Yes.
the work was done. 1 and 3 are done. It is back.
We still have to look at it.
Well, let me go back then, since Josh wasn't on that. I hate to go back over this. Did you have any further discussion on the paid, or the activity fee, Josh?
No.
Okay. I'm going to call for the vote. On F3 or FIII, I'm going to call for the vote on that again. All those in favor of increasing that fee $50, which has a net effect of $66 at the high school and $62 at the middle school, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 6-1. And then on F2 or FII, I'm going to make a motion that we do not charge any kindergarten fee.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Understand, if somebody else wants to have a fee, you can make a motion to amend to add that fee, and we can then discuss that.
I make a motion then to add a fee to the kindergarten.
Second.
So, and just to restate that, you make a motion to amend the original motion, adding a fee of...
What fee are you adding? How much would you say?
150, 100, 150. It's something that gets us closer to our
No,
goal.
that's
What's the difference? I was at 200, you were at 100, I'll go 150. It's like we're...
Pretty sure that's not how that should have gone, but.
We've been doing this for long enough, a little humor would be nice to have in here.
So, there was a motion made by Board Member Waddell to amend the original motion, adding a $150 kindergarten fee, and it was seconded by Board Member Rankin. Is there any discussion on the $150 amendment?
And that would be until, I mean, we would take that off. That wouldn't be just for 1 year. That would be until we say to stop doing it or change it.
How close do we have any idea how close the state is on that?
No.
I'm sure it'll come up again, but no, I don't want to guess on when
I
that'll
don't have
be.
any money for it.
Yeah, I'd say it's a ways off now with their projections, so.
Now, was that motion set for till the state picks it up, or just as we as a board decide to take it away?
It was. So we'd have to have another motion to amend.
I would rather not tie our hands on that one. I
was
would
just
like
thinking-
the option of releasing that fee if our financial situation improves,
I was
along with
saying
any of
until
these
the-
other fees.
Until the board.
The way I had it was just open-ended, $150 kindergarten fee, and it would be till further action.
So what's our running total right now then?
If you added that,
Add your workbook, your activity, and your
you're at
150.
288-ish. 288,000. What was that number, Tracy?
On the kindergarten fee, is that what, 20,700 at $150 fee?
But
Total
so
children?
that's another problem. Is this everybody, every kindergartner, or is this on the free and reduced lunch program? Because to me, it's every kindergartner.
But then do you run into the collectibles?
At $150? I don't know. You might. You very well might. I'm seeing that down there.
Having a $50 activity fee, $60 workbook fee, including transportation, and $150 kindergarten fee for those previously that we mentioned, except for the free lunch, would generate $309,000.
So we're there.
Well, just for the heck of it, what would a $40 workbook increase by that?
$273,500.
Which would have been pretty close to 288.
What did you figure that $100 would generate? Or 150?
20,700, excluding free and reduced.
20,550?
20,700.
Tracy, I'm sorry, how do you count on the kindergarten fee, how do you count the reduced lunch?
How do you count what?
How do you count the reduced lunch?
About 9.5% of our students are eligible for reduced lunch, and so that we would cut that in half if we followed this schedule.
So do I just, would you take 150 times the 126 and then 75 times the 22? Is that how you guys do it?
Correct.
Or is that not how I do that? Okay.
Correct, and that generates 20,700.
What was the original calculation for the transportation? Was that 49?
114,000.
No, on the cuts list, or the original.
49,800, and that was charging a fee for that.
And then the total on that, what was the balance on that sheet? 109?
109,886.
I come up with, I think, my number's 312. Because if you add the 114 and then back out the 49, and then you would add in an additional 53,370 for the workbook fee, you'd have the 64,200 for the activity fee, and then, that's if you did the kindergarten, that'd be another 20,000, so. But they're within, we were off by 4,000 before too, so. Any further discussion on the 150? And that, I will then call for the vote. This is on the amendment to amend the motion to add a $150 kindergarten fee, open-ended. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Can we get a show of hands on that? All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. And nay. The motion carries 4-3. I think that takes care of item F and G unless somebody has an additional motion.
I just want to be clear, by adding the kindergarten fee, we're not saying to people, if you choose to come for the second half, this is what you'll pay. We're saying to enroll in kindergarten this year, which is a full day, you will need to pay a $150 fee, right?
So,
Okay.
so
So
we're
it
back.
doesn't change the curriculum, it doesn't give people the option of leaving at noon, anything like that?
So we're back to the original motion now, which is to implement the $150, all we have is the $150 fee. The question I think we need to clarify is that fee for everyone, or is that fee to be assessed as we previously had with $150 for everyone except for free and reduced, in which free paid nothing and reduced paid half? I think we probably need to have that clarified.
The numbers that were shared that we just ran through, that was for the full and then the
Yes.
reduced? Okay, we'll bring both of those.
Am I the one to make the clarification then?
Well, anybody can make the motion or whatever they want, yeah. I think we need to have a motion for an amendment on that, though.
In light of the education on a few things and knowing where we're at with the number now, I guess I would be more with keeping it as is with the free and reduced schedule. Originally, that's not what I was indicating, but that's where I would make my clarification. So we can discuss that now, I guess.
Are you making a motion then?
No, I didn't make a motion yet. I'm just saying that was where these, I don't necessarily need to be the one to make the clarification, and I'm maybe not the most cunning linguist of the group, but
Dean, those figures you had, I think you were figuring 20,000 some. That included the free and reduced?
That included not charging for free and half for reduced.
On the regular workbook fees, everybody is charged the same. There's no reduced, correct?
That is.
Oh, there is?
Yeah.
Okay. So this would follow that same structure?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I like the consistency.
then I make a motion to amend the previous approved motion to include that we stay on the schedule. I don't know how to say it.
Actually, the other motion, all we did is amended the original motion that is now pending. It's now 150. So you would be making a motion to amend the motion to reflect that it's $150 fee, but we're only going to, that anybody on reduced lunch only pays half of that, and anybody on free lunch pays nothing.
Bingo.
Okay.
Ditto.
Do you want to second that?
Second.
It's been moved by Board Member Waddell, second by Board Member Rankin, to amend as previously set forth. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-3. And if there's no further discussion, then we'll vote on the final, or the motion, which is as $150 fee, half price for reduced lunch, free for free lunch. Any further discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 4-3. And now, even though I said before we were finished, I was wrong. Now I think that wraps up I, 2I, 3I, and G. Is there any further discussion or motions on those items?
We hit our target numbers.
I think with those, it should put us about 308 to 312.
We'll put that together right away and get that out. Everybody knows.
Item 10 is discussion by board members and agenda requests.
I wanted to bring up, and Dean, you can probably help me with this, but basically just wanted to thank Sunflower Bank for their donation to the district as well on the pay for the grades. I can't remember what the total was, but
a couple, over 2,000.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure to recognize them for.
Yeah, I'm glad you thought of that. Yeah.
I'd like to thank everybody in attendance and everybody that spoke. very professional suggestions and recommendations. Any further discussions?
I think I'd just like to add to everybody in the public that I don't see these as a long-term fee. Really interested in, these would be the maximums, really finding ways to reduce those before August 1st hits, because I do feel there are ways to do that, and I look at this, and I think we're really getting away from, when you look at all the fees initiated here, I look at that, and in the back of my head, when I took this, it was supposed to be a public education. That meant a lot of people put forward a lot of time and a lot of effort to make sure that those going to school were going to be brought up right, have a great education, become very, very productive citizens in the community. And so, I look very forward. I don't like the fees, but I think we need to look just a little bit harder to get those down before August 1st.
Which means now, if we did pass an LOB, we could use those funds to directly offset the increased fees.
Yep.
And also, thank you for, the public's been great, they've been active, we've had more calls and emails. We got to have that, and we've got to keep it coming. Just because we've had a couple important issues that everybody got riled up about, we got a million more. I mean, I think the more we can work together, express opinions, talk it out, and I think that's just going to be better off for all of us in the long run. So thank you, and please continue to do so.
And just my 2 weeks' experience on this, understand that the differing views that are represented here are definitely representative of the differing views out in the public. I mean, we will receive one email that says increase kindergarten fees, but don't touch transportation. Another one that says, make a cut in transportation, but please don't touch kindergarten, don't touch music. I mean, everybody has a differing opinion, and it's our job to try to work through this and make the best decisions we can. Again, echoing that hopefully we are on the path to financial health. It's just going to take probably a year to see some improvement.
Any further discussion? Next item on the agenda is executive session. I would make a motion for the board to retreat to executive session for a period of 30 minutes for the purposes of discussing attorney-client privilege, personnel, negotiations, and that to include the Board of Education, Superintendent Catt, Director of Curriculum, Shanna Dinkle, Business Manager Tracy Kaiser, and Board Attorney Bill Jeter. We'll begin at 9:05 and end at 9:35.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 7-0. We will adjourn until 9:35.